Well, hey there, my darlings, it's Nana Rose. Today, I've got one of those stories, the kind that makes your heart race and your mind wander. Picture this: 4 friends, lost deep in the Arizona desert, blistering heat, no water, no help, just each other and a few secrets they thought were long buried. But what really happened out there? Did they make it out alive? Or did the desert have other plans? So go ahead, grab a snack, get comfy, and settle in, because this story, oh honey, this one just might change the way you see everything. It's about friendship, forgiveness, and what we find when we've lost all hope. Ready? Let's dive in.
The scorching Arizona sun and the silent vastness of the desert, marked by cacti and reddish rocks, was the stage for the story of 4 friends, whose lives, once very close, now seemed to be heading in opposite directions. Maya, the natural leader, carried the weight of decisions on her shoulders, while Liam, the pragmatic one, questioned every step with bitter skepticism. Chloe, the sensitive artist, sought beauty in the aridity, but her heart held deep scars. And Noah, the playful one, struggled to maintain lightness amidst the growing tension. They had ventured into the desert in search of reconnection, a desperate attempt to rescue an old friendship between them that now seemed to be crumbling with time and life's disappointments. The trail they were following, which initially seemed like an invitation to adventure, turned into a relentless labyrinth when a sandstorm left them lost and separated from the main group of the trip. Lost and isolated, the 4 friends found themselves facing a challenge greater than any of them could have imagined. The scorching heat, the lack of water, and physical exhaustion were just the beginning of their ordeal. The desert, relentless and indifferent, seemed to test the limits of their endurance, revealing the fragility of life and the strength of human connection. What was supposed to be a weekend of fun and reconnection turned into a desperate struggle for survival, a journey that would force them to confront their own demons and rediscover the importance of having each other. The silence of the desert held secrets, and the surprising end to this story was about to be revealed and will surprise you. The Arizona desert, a sea of sand and rock under a blue sky, was more than just a setting. It was a character that was part of the story. The dunes, sculpted by the wind, changed shape every day, and the sun, relentless, punished the land with its heat, giant cacti, guarding ancient secrets in a vastness of silence. That was an environment that tested the limits of human endurance, a stage for personal dramas and journeys of self-discovery. Maya, the leader of the group, had always been driven by relentless ambition, but she prioritized her career, which distanced her from her friends, and the weight of guilt drove her to seek reconciliation. Liam carried the burden of family responsibilities and a distrust that prevented him from truly connecting with others. His pragmatic view of the world contrasted with the sensitivity of Chloe, the artist, who sought refuge in beauty and creative expression. Chloe's heart, wounded by a past love, made her vulnerable and hesitant. Noah, the playful one, had always been the link between the 4, the mediator who sought harmony among friends. His lightness, however, hid a deep insecurity and a fear of losing his friends. Their friendship, built in childhood, had worn away with time, choices, and life's disappointments. The trip to the desert was a desperate attempt to rekindle the flame of connection, a last chance to rescue what had been lost. The initial motivation was simple: a weekend of adventure and fun. But, deep down, each of them carried a deeper longing: the need to forgive, to be forgiven, and to reconnect with those they loved. The desert, with its vastness and silence, was the perfect place for this journey, a stage where human fragility met the strength of nature. The challenge they would face would force them to confront their own demons and rediscover the true meaning of friendship. The relentless thirst intensified the tensions. In the heat of the desert, Liam revealed a secret. He had hidden a map that could have saved them, for fear of losing control. The trust, already fragile, shattered. Chloe, amidst the chaos, confessed that her departure years before had not been a choice, but an escape from an unrequited love for Liam. The revelation shook the group, exposing wounds that time had not healed. Maya, pressured, admitted that the trip was also an attempt to escape her own failures, not just to rescue the friendship. The desert, once a physical challenge, became an emotional battlefield, where secrets and resentments exploded, turning the struggle for survival into an even deeper ordeal. The four friends' initial goal was simple: to find their way back to civilization. But, with the revelation of secrets and the increase in tensions, the focus shifted to the need for reconciliation and self-discovery. Maya, once determined to lead, now sought redemption for her mistakes. Liam, confronted with the fragility of his control, yearned for forgiveness. Chloe, with her heart exposed, needed to heal and break free from the past. And Noah, the mediator, struggled to keep the friendship alive, even in the face of chaos. The first real obstacle was the lack of water, which became a constant torture. The relentless thirst prevented them from thinking clearly and made them more irritable and impatient. The distrust, sown by the revelations they had just made, turned into veiled accusations and painful arguments. The desert, with its vastness and silence, seemed to amplify the tensions and conflicts, testing the limits of their endurance. In the search for a way back, Chloe found an ancient rock shelter, with drawings that portrayed the history of a tribe that inhabited the region long ago. The discovery sparked her curiosity and led her to delve into the history of the desert, seeking a connection with the past. Meanwhile, Liam, tormented by guilt, isolated himself from the group, seeking a solution to the situation, even if it meant further distancing himself from his friends. The desert, with its beauty and brutality, became a mirror of their own lives, reflecting their weaknesses and fears. The struggle for survival turned into a journey of self-discovery, an opportunity to forgive, to be forgiven, and to reconnect with those they loved. The way back to civilization, once the main goal, was now just a part of a much larger and deeper journey. The tense calm that hung over the group was abruptly interrupted by an unexpected event. A sandstorm, sudden and violent, hit them with full force. The sky, once blue and clear, turned into a whirlwind of dust and sand, obscuring vision and making breathing difficult. The storm, like a relentless force of nature, separated them and threw them in opposite directions, intensifying the chaos and the feeling of isolation. Maya, who was trying to lead the group, found herself alone and disoriented, fighting against the wind and sand. Liam, who sought redemption, was carried away by the storm, without knowing if his friends were safe. Chloe, who took refuge in art, saw her drawings erased by the sand, symbolizing the fragility of her hope. And Noah, the mediator, found himself powerless in the face of the force of nature, without knowing how to reunite the group. The sandstorm was not just a physical obstacle, but also a catalyst for emotions. The feeling of loss and isolation intensified fear and anguish, exposing the fragility of friendship and the need to have each other. They were much better together than alone. The desert, once a stage for reconciliation, became a battlefield, where the struggle for survival became even more desperate. The unexpected event created an immediate urgency, forcing the four friends to act. Maya, even disoriented, felt the need to lead again, seeking to reunite the group and find safe shelter. Liam, driven by guilt and fear of losing his friends, decided to use his knowledge to draw up a new plan. Chloe, inspired by the beauty of nature, sought in art a way to express her pain and hope. And Noah, with his unwavering optimism, became the voice of hope, encouraging his friends not to give up. The sandstorm, like a watershed moment, changed the course of the story, creating a new dynamic between the characters and intensifying the main conflict. The desert, relentless and indifferent, seemed to test the limits of their endurance, revealing the fragility of life and the strength of human connection. the struggle for survival became an even more challenging journey, an opportunity to forgive, to be forgiven, and to reconnect with those they loved. The sandstorm, as it dissipated, left a trail of destruction and uncertainty. Maya, alone, struggled against exhaustion and despair, searching for any sign of her friends. The landscape, transformed by the storm, seemed unrecognizable, and the feeling of isolation became even more overwhelming. The lack of water and food became a constant concern, and hope, once strong, began to waver. Liam, also alone, found himself facing a new challenge. His guilt and fear intensified, and he wondered if he would be able to find his friends and atone for his mistakes. Chloe, after the storm, found a hidden oasis, a refuge of beauty and hope in the midst of the aridity of the desert. There, she met an old woman, a native of the region, who told her stories about the history of the desert and the importance of connecting with nature. The old lady, with her wisdom and her calm, became a guide for Chloe, helping her to find strength in her own vulnerability. Noah, who had been carried away from the group, found a group of travelers, people who had also been lost in the desert. The travelers, with their experience and camaraderie, helped him regain hope and believe that his friends were still alive. The experience with the travelers, like a ray of light in the darkness, motivated him to move forward and never give up on his friends. The separation of the group, as a consequence of the storm, created new challenges and new dynamics between the characters. The struggle for survival became even more difficult, both physically and emotionally. The desert, with its vastness and silence, seemed to test the limits of their endurance, revealing the fragility of life and the strength of human connection. The journey of self-discovery, which began with the trip to the desert, became even deeper and more transformative. Hope, although fragile, still persisted, driving the four friends to move forward, even in the face of chaos and uncertainty. The desert, with its beauty and brutality, became a stage for the drama of life, a mirror that reflected the weaknesses and strengths of each of them. The struggle for survival turned into a journey of self-discovery, an opportunity to forgive, to be forgiven, and to reconnect with those they loved. Maya's search for her friends became even more desperate when she discovered traces of blood in the sand, a sign that someone was injured. Liam found himself facing a moral dilemma. He could move forward alone and find salvation, or go back to help his friends, risking his own life. The internal struggle between selfishness and compassion became increasingly intense, testing the limits of his own humanity. Chloe, inspired by the wisdom of the old lady, began to use her art as a form of communication, drawing messages in the sand that could guide her friends to the oasis. Noah, upon joining the travelers he found, discovered that one of them had found an old map, which could lead them back to civilization. However, the map was incomplete, and the only person who could decipher it was the old lady that Chloe had found. The need to unite the two groups and find the old lady became the top priority, intensifying the tension and urgency of the situation. The struggle for survival became increasingly complex, both physically and emotionally. The desert, with its vastness and silence, seemed to test the limits of their endurance, revealing the fragility of life and the strength of human connection. The tension between the characters intensified as their fears and insecurities became more evident. The need to trust each other became more urgent, but the distrust, sown by the secrets and hurts of the past, still lingered in the air. Maya, following the traces of blood, found Liam seriously injured, trapped in a natural trap, a cactus with many thorns. Guilt and fear overwhelmed her, and she realized that leadership was not about strength, but about compassion and sacrifice. She used all her energy to free Liam, risking her own life in the process. The experience, like a shock of reality, transformed her deeply, revealing the fragility of life and the importance of human connection and how much they needed each other. Liam, upon being rescued by Maya, realized the depth of her sacrifice and the extent of his own arrogance. Guilt and shame consumed him, and he decided it was time to forgive. He revealed to Maya that he had found a secret passage in the ravine, a path that could lead them to the oasis, but that would also require courage and trust. Chloe, upon receiving the message from Noah, realized that her art could be the key to salvation. She began to draw a detailed map of the oasis, guiding her friends to her refuge. Art, once a personal expression, became a tool of hope and connection, revealing the power of human creativity. Noah, upon joining the travelers, discovered that the old lady had left for a sacred place, where she connected with nature. The need to find the old lady became even more urgent, and he decided to lead the travelers on a dangerous journey, following the clues that Chloe had left. The decision, as an act of courage, revealed his inner strength and his ability to lead. As the four friends approached the sacred place, where their lives would meet again, the journey of self-discovery, which began with the trip to the desert, became increasingly deep and transformative. Maya and Liam, together, followed the secret passage in the ravine, facing obstacles and challenges that tested their physical and emotional limits. The journey, like an ordeal, forced them to trust each other, overcoming the hurts and resentments of the past. The alliance, like a pact of survival, became stronger with each step, preparing the ground for the resolution of the conflict. In the oasis, Chloe began preparing a healing ritual, using herbs and medicinal plants she had learned about from the old woman. The preparation, as an act of hope, connected her with nature and her own inner strength. The ritual, as a form of physical and spiritual healing, became a symbol of renewal and transformation. Noah, leading the travelers, followed Chloe's tracks, facing sandstorms and unknown dangers. The unity with the travelers, as a bond of camaraderie, became a source of strength and hope. One of the travelers, driven by greed, tried to steal the ancient map, revealing a betrayal that shook the group's trust. The approach to the sacred place became increasingly evident as the four friends drew closer to the meeting point. Maya and Liam, after overcoming the ravine, faced a new sandstorm, a final obstacle that tested their endurance and determination. The storm forced them to trust each other and use all their strength to survive. Chloe, in the oasis, finalized the healing ritual, connecting with nature and her own inner strength. The preparation, as an act of hope, strengthened her for the reunion with her friends. The ritual, as a symbol of renewal and transformation, became a beacon of light in the darkness. Noah, leading the travelers, faced the betrayal of the greedy traveler, a final test of his leadership and his ability to forgive. The betrayal, as a shock of reality, forced him to confront the fragility of human nature and the importance of loyalty. Overcoming the betrayal, as an act of compassion, prepared him for the final challenge. The tension between the characters intensified as they approached the sacred place, where their paths would meet again. The need to forgive, to be forgiven, and to reconnect with those they loved became increasingly urgent. The desert, with its vastness and silence, seemed to test the limits of their endurance, revealing the fragility of life and the strength of human connection. The sacred place, a hidden oasis in the heart of the desert, became the stage for the final confrontation. Maya and Liam, exhausted but determined, joined Chloe, who was waiting for them with the healing ritual. Noah, leading the travelers, arrived soon after, reuniting the group after the long journey. The union of the four friends, as a pact of survival, became a symbol of hope and resilience. The old woman, with her wisdom and calm, guided the group in a healing ritual, connecting them with nature and their own inner strength. The ritual, as an act of transformation, freed them from the grudges and resentments of the past, paving the way for reconciliation. The healing, both physical and spiritual, became a symbol of renewal and transformation. Liam, moved by guilt, asked Chloe for forgiveness for his past actions, revealing the depth of his remorse. Chloe, with an open heart, forgave Liam, freeing herself from the weight of bitterness and resentment. Forgiveness, as an act of courage, became a symbol of healing and reconciliation. Maya, seeing the unity of her friends, realized that leadership was not about control, but about compassion and sacrifice. She asked her friends for forgiveness for her impulsive decisions and recognized the importance of friendship and human connection. Humility, as an act of wisdom, became a symbol of transformation and growth. Noah, seeing his friends reunited, realized that his mission in life was to unite people and promote peace. He shared the ancient map with the group, guiding them back to civilization. Leadership, as an act of service, became a symbol of hope and connection. The survival journey, which began as a desperate struggle, transformed into a journey of self-discovery. The desert, with its beauty and brutality, became a stage for the drama of life, a mirror that reflected the weaknesses and strengths of each of them. The story of Maya, Liam, Chloe, and Noah is a reminder that even lost in the desert, we can find our way back to ourselves and to those we love. The return to civilization was a moment of relief and gratitude, but also of reflection. The four friends, transformed by their experience in the desert, realized that true survival is not just physical, but also emotional and spiritual. Maya, now more humble and compassionate, decided to dedicate herself to social causes, using her leadership to help others. Liam, more open and confident, decided to reconnect with his family, valuing relationships above all else. Chloe, stronger and more expressive, decided to use her art to inspire and touch people's hearts. And Noah, more optimistic and determined, decided to use his energy to promote peace and unity. Years later, the four friends reunited in the desert, no longer as survivors, but as explorers. They walked the dunes, contemplated the vastness of the horizon, and celebrated the beauty of nature and remembered their traumatic experience from the past, which had transformed into a precious memory, a milestone in the history of their friendship. The story of Maya, Liam, Chloe, and Noah became a legend, an inspiring tale about the importance of friendship, the need to forgive, and human connection. The desert, with its beauty and brutality, had become a stage for the drama of life, a mirror that reflected the weaknesses and strengths of each of them. The final message of the story is that, even in the most difficult times, hope, friendship, and human connection can guide us through the darkness and lead us to the light. The survival journey in the desert, although painful and challenging, became a valuable lesson about the importance of valuing life, relationships, and connection with nature. Now, share this story and inspire others to find the strength of friendship and resilience in their own lives. May the journey of Maya, Liam, Chloe, and Noah be a beacon of hope for all those who feel lost in their own deserts.